Here we go. No need to worry.
Grace and peace, family. It's your boy Brandon McCrae, aka Bmac Music, coming to you with another installment of Wisdom on Wednesday. For the past several weeks, we've been discussing this topic entitled Faith Over Fear. 2 weeks ago, we shared about the enemy's form. Last week, we shared specifically about the believer's fear. Today, I want to talk about God's faithfulness. For context's sake, look at 1 Kings chapter 19. Specifically, today, we'll be looking at verses 4 through 8. I don't have time to read it, so check it out. Check out the previous videos, and you'll be able to catch right up with where we're going. I think that there are three things that need to be highlighted, three aspects of God's faithfulness. The first thing we see specifically in the life of Elijah, that there is a provision. There are provisions. There is provision made. Specifically here in the life of Elijah, we see the immutable character of God is such that he will provide even when we are out of place. Elijah finds himself running from a female. Not that I have anything against females, but you have to understand patristic society. They were counted as they were not really citizens, even if they weren't married or had sons. So he is allowing what is culturally irrelevant to make him irrelevant in the kingdom. Oh, let me say that again. He's allowing what's culturally irrelevant to make him irrelevant in the kingdom. But what's amazing is about God's immutable characteristics is that even when we are out of place, God will still provide. What's amazing is he's under a broom tree praying futile prayers, but it is in that very place that God provides for him. But we look at the life and the life of Elijah, and we see that there has already been provision. There have been 3.5 years of provision. 2 full chapters of provision in the life of Elijah. But here, God still chooses to provide in a very special way. How does he provide? Elijah is running for his life, and he takes a nap after praying a futile prayer, and he's awakened by an angel that says, "Arise and eat." And he sees that there is food. So we see first that there's provision. Secondly, we have to make note of the placement of the provision. Where is the placement? The scripture says, verse 6, that the food, the cakes, the bread, and the jar of water is placed at his head. Allow me to argue that that is a prophetic placement. That is a prophetic placement. What is a prophetic placement? It is at the head of Elijah to remind him that the provisions come from above and not from beneath. The position is prophetic, and that the placement of the provision is such that he is to be reminded that provision comes from above. Scripture says promotion does not come from the north, the south, the east, or west, but promotion comes from God. Just like provision here in the text must come from God. My brothers and sisters, beloved, let me remind you, when you are looking for provision in this season, do not look in various places, whether it be friends, whether it be parents, whether it be other colleagues, but you must recognize and be reminded that provision comes from above. I'm reminded here of a story of a young man that had lived with his grandmother, and he had gone off to college. He had got into a fix, called his grandmother, and he said, "Grandmother, I need money." She said, "Son, have you opened the Bible that I sent with you to school?" He said, "No, Grandmama, I haven't opened that big dusty Bible since you sent it." She said, "Son, open the Bible to Psalms 23. What's amazing is that the young man went through this discourse with his grandmother, and he never opened the Bible. She finally, after a 20-30 minute conversation, said, "Son, look in Psalms 23. What the young man would discover is that when he opened the Bible, there were several $100 bills placed in an area that was prophetic. Psalms 23. The Lord was his shepherd, but he, not having realized and never having opened the scripture, never knew that provision was placed in such a place that it was preemptive, and that he couldn't even get in the way. Let me tell you, Elijah's food was placed at his head to remind his flesh that he couldn't even get in the way of knocking it over. Had the food been placed at his feet, it would have been very easy for him to kick over the food. Had the food been in front of him, it would have been very easy for him to knock over the food. But the angel, per God's instruction, placed the food at his head to prophetically remind him of where his help came from, and also to preemptively act so that he could not himself himself get in the way of the provision. My brothers and sisters, please allow me to tell you that you can't even get in the way of what God is about to do in this next season of your life. So not only do we see provision, not only do we see the placement of provision, but we see preparation and preservation. The food that Elijah was given allowed him to go on a 40-day journey through the exact same desert that the children of Israel went through to get to Mount Horeb. Now, you don't know what Mount Horeb is, but if you were to do greater study, you would understand that Mount Horeb is indeed another name for Mount Sinai, the Mount of God, the place where God spoke and does speak to his people. So the preparation and the preservation allowed Elijah, that food that was given to him, allowed him to make it on a 40-day journey to Revelation. What I want you to know today is that the enemy may have a form and we may have fear, but we will always overcome when we wake up and realize God's provision through his faithfulness through provision, his faithfulness through placement, and his faithfulness through preparation and preservation. I want you to do three things for me. Like, share, and comment on this video. Let's make something God go viral. This is Wisdom on Wednesday, and until next week, holla at your boy.